They always say death brings peace. But maybe they've never stood in a long, narrow hallway where the dim, silent light settles over rows of locked doors, doors behind which no one really knows what happened. I used to believe it too, that once your heart stops, your soul is set free, that death was the end of pain, an exit leading to peace, heaven maybe, or at least a void without suffering. But then I learned a terrifying truth. The dead don't rest the way we think they do. They don't haunt cemeteries, those places built for mourning, for farewells. No, cemeteries are the quietest places of all, because no one actually dies there. No, that's not where they linger. They stay where they hurt, where they screamed, where they died, full of rage and unfinished stories. They hover in places where cries for help were swallowed by cold concrete walls, where the last thing they saw wasn't a light at the end of the tunnel, but pitch black darkness reeking of disinfectant, metal, and blood. I'm not telling you this to scare you. I'm not trying to be the main character of some spooky story you scroll past and forget in 5 minutes. I'm telling you because I have to. Because ever since that night, I haven't slept right. If you've ever walked past an abandoned house, heard the wind rattle cracked windows like the building itself was crying in the dark, if you've seen an old rusted factory where the machines still sit in place, like the workers vanished in the middle of a shift and never came back, or worse, a deserted hospital, with rotting gurneys, scattered medical files, and walls so cracked they seem to scream. Please, don't go inside. Not because of collapsing ceilings or mold, but because you never really know what might still be waiting in there. That night, I didn't listen to my gut. Me and my friends, 5 city kids, buzzing with excitement, obsessed with urban exploration videos and grainy black and white photos labelled "Do Not Enter," which of course made us want to go in even more. I remember that day like it was burned into my mind. Late October, weirdly cold, even though winter hadn't started yet. It all started as a joke. A stupid joke that we all thought was harmless. That night was chilly, the kind of cold that sinks under your skin. The autumn wind howled through bare tree branches, like blackened fingers clawing at the sky. There were 6 of us. We met up at the edge of an old abandoned industrial zone on the west side of town. I was there, Emily, walking in the middle of the group. Ryan led the way, tall, cocky, always trying to prove something. Behind me were Jason, Anna, Chloe, and Daniel. Friends from college I once believed would be in my life forever. None of us knew that tonight would be the last time we'd all be together. We were headed for a place called St. Mary's Asylum, once a well-known hospital, now forgotten for over 20 years. Ever since the massive fire in 2002, nearly 30 people died that night, most of them psychiatric patients locked in their rooms. No one likes to talk about it, but the town still whispers. They say lights flicker in the top floor windows every full moon, that you can hear children laughing in the empty hallways, that there's the sound of metal dragging, and the faint smell of burned hair hanging in the air. Of course, we didn't believe it. We were the generation of logic, cameras, and YouTube vlogs. We came to explore, to catch paranormal moments on video, to laugh, to get views. But what we didn't understand was that belief has nothing to do with how dangerous something is. St. Mary's rose from the dark like a hibernating beast. Its mold-covered walls loomed high, windows shattered like hollow, black eye sockets. The rusted gate screamed when Jason pried it open with a crowbar, a shriek of metal that cut through the silence. The moment I stepped onto the grounds, I felt it, a cold that had nothing to do with the weather. It came from beneath the earth, or maybe from the building itself. The front lobby was wide and empty. Dust covered everything, but on the tiled floor, faint footprints slid across the surface, like someone had just passed through. A painting hung crooked on the wall. It showed a nurse holding a child, but someone had blacked out the woman's eyes with thick ink. Now they were just hollow, lifeless. Ryan pulled out his Bluetooth speaker and started blasting electronic music. "Let's give the ghosts a show," he laughed. We laughed too, but the sound didn't echo. It didn't bounce off the walls. It was swallowed by the heavy air, by the rotting walls, by something that was already listening. Splitting up was our first mistake. Ryan, Jason, and I took the stairs to the second floor. The main ward. Chloe, Daniel, and Anna headed to the fourth floor, once the isolation wing for severe cases. The stairwell groaned like someone being strangled. Each step felt like it echoed some unseen dread in the pit of my stomach. The hallway was long and narrow, stretching into darkness. The patient room doors were half open, like mouths frozen mid-breath. We moved past one door after another. One of them had a faded plaque, room 205, infectious pediatrics. Ryan pushed it open. Our flashlight beam swept across broken iron bed frames and peeling, water-stained walls. On a desk sat a decayed medical log, but scrawled beneath it, in some kind of dark, dried ink, was a chilling message. They didn't save us. A shiver ran down my spine. Jason glanced around and gave a nervous laugh. Probably just someone trying to freak out whoever came in next. We left the room. Then, at the third door, Ryan stopped. His face went still. "Do you guys hear that?" he whispered. I held my breath. At first, there was nothing. Just silence, thick, heavy. Then, it came. Clink, clank. The sound of metal chains dragging across the tile floor. I swung my flashlight toward the end of the hallway. Nothing. "I'm gonna check that last room," Ryan said. "There's something in there." And without waiting for us, he walked off. 1 minute, 2 minutes, no sound, no footsteps, not even a door creaking. "Ryan?" I called out. Nothing. Jason pointed his flashlight down the hall. The door at the end was slightly ajar. Inside, empty. No Ryan. No sound, nothing. Just his flashlight, lying on the floor, faintly glowing. Jason bent down to pick it up. And that's when we saw it. On the wall where the beam passed, a message. Scratched messily in what looked like charcoal. "I warned you. Don't come in." My whole body went cold. We shouted Ryan's name, but all we heard was our own voices echoing back, distorted, twisted, like something was mimicking us. "Ryan?" I called again, this time my voice trembling. Jason swept the room with his light. Corners, ceiling, under the overturned table, nothing. No blood, no signal. I tried too. A faint bar flickered on my screen, coming and going like it couldn't decide if it wanted to help. I quickly typed out a message to Chloe. "Ryan's gone. We're on the second floor. Be careful." No delivered. No sent. Nothing. My heart pounded so hard it made my chest ache. I tightened my grip on the flashlight, trying to tell myself, maybe Ryan was messing with us. Maybe he was hiding in the dark somewhere, trying to scare us for a laugh. "There's no way someone just disappears," Jason whispered. We decided to head back to the lobby to find the others. Maybe they still had signal. Maybe they could help search for Ryan. But as we turned down the hallway toward the stairs, the staircase was gone. I mean, the space was still there, but the steps leading down? Gone. Just a pitch-black void where the stairwell used to be. We pointed our flashlights down, only darkness. A drop that seemed to have no end. I stumbled back, dizzy. No way, Jason muttered. "We just came up this way. This isn't real." I turned around to retrace our steps, but the hallway behind us had changed too. The doors that had been slightly open just minutes ago were now wide open. The frosted windows wiped clean. And outside? Not the hospital courtyard anymore. Rows of hospital beds. Hundreds of them, stretching into the dark, each one holding a body covered by a white sheet, completely still. I gasped. Jason grabbed my arm and pulled me. "Move, we need to go, now." We ran. No words, no looking back, just ran. We burst into a nearby room. Jason slammed the door shut behind us, leaning against it, panting. I could barely breathe. The air inside was thick, like there was no oxygen left. It looked like an old nurse's station. There was a large mirror on the wall. I raised my flashlight toward it and froze. I saw Jason. I saw the room, but I wasn't in the reflection. The spot where I stood was empty. I blinked, took a step back, and then, slowly, my reflection faded in, like it had been dragged in from somewhere far away. I clutched my collar, forcing myself to stay calm. There's an explanation. There has to be. Maybe the lighting. Maybe I'm just exhausted. There's a reason. There's always a reason. And then, knock, knock, knock. 3 sharp, deliberate knocks from the hallway. Jason snapped his head toward the door. I didn't dare breathe. Total suffocating silence. Like the air itself froze. We stood frozen for nearly a full minute. And then, Emily. A whisper right next to my ear. I spun around. No one. Jason was still holding the door. No one behind me. Emily. Again, this time from the mirror. I turned slowly, and there it was. A face behind Jason's reflection. A nurse in a white uniform, eyeless. 2 black voids where her eyes should have been. Blood streaming down her face. And smiling. I screamed. Jason spun around, but the mirror was empty again. I told him what I saw, voice shaking. He didn't say a word, just whispered, "We have to get out of here." We stepped back into the hallway, still just as dark, but now there were whispers. Constant, layered over each other like hundreds of voices, all talking at once. Men, women, children, old, young, all murmuring broken phrases. They left us, can't breathe. Fire. Locked the door. I covered my ears, trying not to lose it. Jason pulled me forward, eyes locked ahead. We ran through another corridor. At the end, dim light. Someone was standing there. The flashlight wouldn't reach their face, only their back. But the silhouette, it looked like Ryan. "Ryan!" I shouted. No answer. Jason stepped forward cautiously. "Maybe he doesn't hear us," he whispered. But as we got closer, the figure turned. Not Ryan. It was a patient. His mouth was sewn shut. Eyes wide, bloodshot, bulging. His hands clutched his head like he was in unbearable pain. But he was smiling, a grin torn wide across his face. Ear to ear, we turned and ran. This time, I heard the footsteps behind us, heavy, fast. Thump, 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 dragging across the tile. We threw ourselves at the fire exit door at the end of the hallway. It opened. Jason held it as I slipped through first. Then it slammed shut behind us. Silence. Jason stared at me. What the hell was that thing? I didn't know how to answer. I don't even remember how long we kept running after that. Time here, it doesn't work the same. My watch was frozen at 1:13 a.m., the same number as the first door we entered. And then, everything started to twist. Jason and I entered another hallway. Or at least, we thought it was different. But when we turned around, the path we came from was gone. In its place, a wall, fresh concrete, still damp, like someone had just sealed it shut. "No way," Jason muttered. This was the hallway. I know it was. I swallowed the panic rising up my throat. We have to find a way out, or someone. Chloe, Daniel, Anna, anyone. Jason nodded. "Keep moving, we can't stop now." We walked on in silence. Every step echoed strangely, like the floor was hollow beneath us. The air grew heavier, like breathing through wet cloth. My flashlight began to flicker. I kept shaking it, trying to keep it alive. And then, Jason stopped. I almost ran straight into him. "What is it?" I whispered. He held out his hand, then pointed. I turned the beam down the corridor. Something was standing at the end. A person. No, something that looked like a person. It was wearing a tattered hospital gown, soaked through like it had crawled out of a swamp. Its skin was pale, cracked, splitting open. The head tilted unnaturally to one side. I couldn't see the eyes, just two sunken holes. But I knew it was staring right at us. "Back away, slowly," Jason whispered. But just then, my flashlight went out. Darkness swallowed us whole. I screamed. No more light, no sense of direction. Just the feel of Jason's hand grabbing mine, pulling me through the dark. Hallways, stairs, doors shrieking on rusted hinges as we burst through them. Then, his hand slipped from mine. Gone. "Jason!" I shouted. I spun in place, lost, blind. Jason! No answer. I fumbled with the flashlight, clicked it once, twice. On the third try, it flickered back to life. Dim, but enough. I swept the beam around. Empty hallway. Cold. Still. Not a single trace of him. Just me. Alone. I screamed. A raw, terrified sound that echoed for a moment, then died. Silence pressed in around me like walls made of air. No footsteps. No reply. I ran, screaming Jason's name, pounding on every door I passed, desperate to find where I'd come from. But the farther I ran, the more I lost my way. The darkness here wasn't like the woods at night, or a room with no light. It was thick, tangible, like black fog. It swallowed sound. It swallowed direction. Even time. I didn't know what floor I was on anymore. What wing. What hallway. Every corner looked the same. Every wall was scarred, claw marks, like fingernails had tried to dig their way out. Some of them stained with old, dried blood. And then I heard it. Crying. A woman. From behind a heavy metal door. A soft, broken sob. I leaned closer, pressed my ear to the cold steel. Please, don't leave me. I'm still alive. Don't lock the door. Please. I stepped back. That wasn't just crying. It was begging. Over and over. The same words, like a loop. A recording? A memory? A soul? Trapped. I didn't open the door. I kept walking. And the farther I went, the more I began to see. Faces. In the walls, in shattered glass, in the darkened windows of patient rooms. All of them. Staring. Motionless. Expressionless. But whenever I turned my back, I could feel their gaze, needles piercing through my spine. Then, a light. At the end of the hall, a door slightly open, a pale flickering white glow, like an old fluorescent bulb. I ran to it. Inside, the hospital director's office. A large desk sat in the center, covered in papers. Patient records, maybe. I stepped closer, hands trembling, and began flipping through them. Every page said the same thing. Status, deceased. Cause of death, locked in during fire. No escape. Note, no one came. And at the bottom of each one, typed in bold, cold letters, retained. Retained? Who? Where? I looked up and saw a figure behind me in the mirror. A man in a doctor's coat, an oxygen mask covered half his face. In one hand, he held something long, surgical, and dripping red. I spun around, nothing. But the mirror, he was still there, and he was getting closer. I screamed, grabbed a chair, and threw it No footsteps, no reply. I ran, screaming Jason's name, pounding on every door I passed, desperate to find where I'd come from. But the farther I ran, the more I lost my way. The darkness here wasn't like the woods at night, or a room with no light. It was thick, tangible, like black fog. It swallowed sound. It swallowed direction. even time. I didn't know what floor I was on anymore, what wing, what hallway. Every corner looked the same. Every wall was scarred, claw marks, like fingernails had tried to dig their way out. Some of them stained with old, dried blood. And then I heard it. Crying. A woman. From behind a heavy metal door. A soft, broken sob. I leaned closer, pressed my ear to the cold steel. Please, don't leave me. I'm still alive. Don't lock the door. Please. I stepped back. That wasn't just crying. It was begging. Over and over. The same words, like a loop. A recording? A memory? A soul? Trapped. I didn't open the door. I kept walking. And the farther I went, the more I began to see. Faces. In the walls, in shattered glass, in the darkened windows of patient rooms. All of them. Staring. Motionless. Expressionless. But whenever I turned my back, I could feel their gaze, needles piercing through my spine. Then, a light. At the end of the hall, a door slightly open, a pale flickering white glow, like an old fluorescent bulb. I ran to it. Inside, the hospital director's office. A large desk sat in the center, covered in papers. Patient records, maybe. I stepped closer, hands trembling, and began flipping through them. Every page said the same thing. Status, deceased. Cause of death, locked in during fire. No escape. Note, no one came. And at the bottom of each one, typed in bold, cold letters, retained. Retained? Who? Where? I looked up and saw a figure behind me in the mirror. A man in a doctor's coat, an oxygen mask covered half his face. In one hand, he held something long, surgical, and dripping red. I spun around, nothing. But the mirror, he was still there. And he was getting closer. I screamed, grabbed a chair and threw it straight at the glass. The mirror shattered with a thunderous crash. I ran, tripped, slammed hard onto the floor. My flashlight slid out of my hand, spinning across the hallway tiles. As I crawled toward it, I saw something written on the wall, right where I fell, scrawled in dark charcoal. It's time, Emily. I stood, backing away. But now, both ends of the hallway were blocked. Dozens of hospital beds, stacked high, pressed together, caging me in, no way out. I turned around. At the end of the corridor, an elevator. The light above flickered, and the doors began to open. Ding! Just a soft chime. The elevator doors slowly parted, revealing darkness. Complete. Cold. I knew I shouldn't go in. I knew it was a trap. But what else was left? Who was left? Jason. Ryan. Chloe's group. Gone. Even the world outside felt like it had never existed. I clutched the flashlight in both hands, and I stepped inside. The doors slid shut behind me. I don't remember how long I was inside the elevator. Could have been a few seconds, could have been hours. The space was too cramped, too dark. I couldn't even tell if I was going up, down, or just stuck in some void. The doors finally creaked open, But what greeted me wasn't another floor, it was another world. The room ahead was massive, like a cathedral. A vaulted ceiling stretched far above, and every inch of the walls was covered in mirrors and parchment, each scrawled with strange, blood-stained symbols. In the center stood an operating table. Lying on it was a body covered in a white sheet. I didn't dare go near, but whispers swirled around me, growing clearer by the second. We used to be alive. They locked us in. We screamed. We were forgotten. We didn't want to die. Voices from everywhere. Inside my head, on the walls, beneath the floor. And then I saw them. Chloe, Daniel, Anna, Jason, Ryan. They stood there in silence, eyes hollow and glassy. Their clothes were tattered, skin blistered and burned, as if they'd all been cooked alive. I stepped back, but they didn't move. They just smiled. And it wasn't a smile the living could make. Jason took one step forward. "We found the truth, Emily," he said. But the voice came distorted, echoed from too many mouths at once. I pressed my back to the wall, shaking. "You're not them," I choked out. "Not anymore," Ryan growled. His eyes glowed like burning coal. I turned and sprinted back toward the elevator, but the door was gone. Only solid brick remained. "No one leaves once they've stepped in," Anna said. Her head tilted a full 90 degrees, blood dripping from empty eye sockets. "We're part of this place now, and now you will be too." I bolted through another pitch-black hallway. Shadowy figures crawled along the floor. Arms burst from the walls, grabbing at my legs. I fell, hard, slamming into an unlocked steel door. I flung myself inside and slammed it shut behind me. Inside the room was a small library. Dusty. Ancient. Mouldy old books lay scattered across the shelves and floor. In the center stood a wooden table, and on it, a journal. I recognized the handwriting. It was my grandmother's. She passed away 3 years ago. The same woman who always warned me never to go near St. Mary's. My hands trembling, I opened the cover. The first page read, "For Emily, if you're reading this, it means the place has pulled you in. There was a time when I too came to St. Mary's, and I was never the same again." I flipped to the next page. Inside was a hand-drawn map of the hospital, but it didn't look like any normal floor plan. There were hidden passages, sigils of protection, and symbols marked in dark red ink. The last page was a warning. They are not ghosts. They are hatred made flesh, decades of pain, torture, abandonment, fire, and silence, condensed into something else. At St. Mary's, no one ever truly dies. They become entities. There's only one way out, the still gate, hidden beneath the medical incineration chamber. But only a soul carrying the binding relic may pass through. That's when I remembered. The necklace I always wore, the one Grandma gave me. A black stone pendant etched with strange swirling patterns. She used to call it the mirror seed talisman. I clutched it tightly in my fist, whispered a shaky thank you to her, and ran. I followed the map, down into the lower levels, through abandoned operating rooms, past old mortuary drawers and autopsy tables, along corridors where blood trickled upward, from the ceiling to the floor. At one point, something blocked my path, a ghostly patient missing both arms, crawling across the ceiling like a spider. I threw a broken glass vial at it and slipped past as it shrieked. Eventually, I reached the medical waste chamber. The door was massive, solid and cold. I removed the pendant and placed it into a carved indent in the stone wall. A sharp click echoed, and the door creaked open. Inside was nothing but a single empty chamber. In the center stood a stone circle, an ancient ring etched into the floor like some ritual gate. I stepped toward it, and behind me, Jason's voice. "You shouldn't go, Emily." I turned. They were all there. Chloe, Daniel, Ryan, Anna, Jason. Surrounding me, their eyes burned crimson, their limbs unnaturally long, their fingernails sharp as claws. They weren't my friends anymore. I raised the pendant high. Light burst from the black stone, so bright it forced them to stagger back. "We died because they left us. Now you stay too." Chloe screamed and lunged at me, but I dove into the stone ring. The pendant flared, blinding, violent light that swallowed everything. The world spun, and then darkness. I woke up outside the hospital gates. Morning light, birds chirping, a soft breeze, as if nothing had ever happened. I screamed for help. No one answered. No one was there. I ran out of the hospital grounds, glancing back over my shoulder. St. Mary's stood still in the morning mist, and in one of the windows on the 4th floor, Jason was watching me, that same empty stare. No one else made it out, only me. It's been 6 months. I've told everyone what happened, but no one believes me. The police searched every inch of the building. They found nothing, no bodies, no signs of life, no trace of anyone but me in the footage we filmed that night. I'm the only survivor, or more accurately, the only one who came back. I still wear the necklace, like a charm, a shield. And every night, I still hear their voices in my dreams. You owe us something, Emily. Sooner or later, you'll come back. I know it. The gate is still there, and it's waiting.